Good afternoon, everyone. Um, just to let you know, we'll be recording this session, and welcome to our National Family Caregivers Month virtual sessions. I'm Angie Murad. I'm a patient educator with the Stephen and Barbara Slaggie Family Cancer Education Center. I'm also a registered dietitian. Wanted to share with you today some information on eating out in a healthy way. I'm going to go ahead and share my slides, and we'll get started. All right. Looks like we're probably in presentation mode and you are seeing my slides. Perfect. So let's get started. So just wanted to talk a little bit about this topic because dining out is an integral part of our American culture. Just because of convenience, it's a way to socialize, take a break from cooking. And sometimes as a caregiver, and if you're caring for someone with a cancer diagnosis, it might be out of necessity if you need to travel and be out of town for patient appointments. So you might just have to eat out. But just on average, a person dines out 3 times per month, orders delivery 4.5 times per month. And it's mostly just because people don't feel like cooking. More people find it convenient. 51% find it convenient. And 44% of Americans just find it as a way to socialize. But like I said, it may just be out of necessity. If we do it quite often, it can have an impact on our health just because, let's face it, portions are very large, which then provide excess calories. Foods are out of our control because we're not cooking it ourselves. So often they use a lot of salt, added sugars. So really just eating out in a healthy way can be difficult. So that's why I chose this topic as one of our nutrition tips. And what I want to go over today or have you take away with are some strategies to eat healthfully while you're dining out, and through whether that's through planning, identifying key menu terms to help you pick healthier choices and help you order with health in mind. And then I'll even touch briefly on how to eat mindfully, because that can just help us eat less overall, which can help us if we're watching our weight, eat less of foods when we're dining out, not just eat mindlessly. So let's get started. So some of the tips that I'm going to go over today are some of those smart strategies. So planning your food choices ahead of time can really be helpful. How to navigate the menu. Like I said, I'm going to talk about some key menu terms that can help you make healthier choices when you're ordering. And then ordering like a pro. So different ways that you can get your food ordered and prepared and served in a way that you want that might be a little bit healthier. I touched on this last time with our first nutrition tips with our kickoff event on November 1st. But this is just the New American Plate, which is recommendations that are given by the American Institute for Cancer Research. This may be difficult if someone is receiving cancer treatment to eat this way because maybe they have difficulty with nausea, their appetite isn't really good. But just want to say that this would be an ideal way to be eating, with most of your foods being 2/3 of your plate being coming from fruits, vegetables, whole grains. Beans would be another example of foods that would be more plant focused. And then 1/3 of your plate focusing on lean protein sources, and other sources of protein that I talked about too in the plant focused nutrition tips was beans, lentils. Those are non-animal protein sources too. And this is really a healthy way of eating so that it helps prevent cancer recurrence as well as just cancer prevention overall. So if you're a caregiver, this can also be a healthy way to eat for cancer prevention and recurrence. But even it has a it can help prevent other chronic diseases too, like diabetes, cardiovascular disease. So it's really something to strive for and work towards eating more of a plant-focused diet. We also talked about just moderate consumption of red meat overall and avoiding processed meats and just trying to reduce highly processed foods whenever you can. And this can be difficult when you're dining out. So some of the things that I'll touch on hopefully can help you find other things to choose. So starting out, just some smart strategies. Just planning ahead, but even before you go to a restaurant can really be helpful. And that could be just depending on where you're going, looking and searching on the internet, different restaurants that are even available in your area to help you make better choices. Oftentimes, restaurants post their menu online. And with some of the other things that I talk about in this nutrition tips on different key terms, so you can kind of see what might be healthier options. And you're not in the moment when you're in the restaurant. So if you can kind of look at the menu, you can get an idea of what types of things you would choose ahead of time and kind of stick with that. Um, so and the other thing too is that if a restaurant has more than 20 locations, they're required to have their nutrition information available online. So that can be a great way to just kind of look and see what types of things you might want to choose. And look for restaurants that offer fruits, vegetables, more so vegetables, probably if you're dining out at dinner time, or whole grains as options. That might not always be the case depending on where you are going. But if you can find that, sometimes there's side dishes that you can order that might have vegetables as an option. And I'll talk a little bit about just asking for whole grains too, if that's even an option. And make sure that you don't skip meals. Oftentimes people think, well, I'm going to go out to eat, so I'm going to save my calories from when I go out to eat. But what can happen is that you're so hungry as you get to the restaurant, and then you're so tempted with many different options that sound so good on the menu. So really just making sure that you're eating throughout the day, even having a light snack of a fruit maybe before you go out to eat can really help curb your appetite so you're not starving when you get there. It's just harder to make healthier choices when you do that. And then if you know that you're going to be dining out, maybe getting a little bit more activity, going for a walk or something if you're able to do that. And then the last tip that I want to talk within the smart strategies category is deciding what you will give or take. So, as an example, if you see a type of beverage that you want that might have more calories, if you decide to do that, then maybe you won't get dessert, or maybe you'll ask to not get the bread basket or something like that. So, again, it's kind of think of um, when you're eating kind of like your bank balance. So if you want to have something, then what else could I maybe give up that might help me in saving on extra calories, or things that might be a little bit higher in sugar. Like if you know a restaurant has really great dessert, maybe it is you're just going to have order water as your beverage. So kind of that give and take when you're dining out, and having some of those things planned out ahead of time can really help you get a plan for action when you're already sitting in the restaurant. Then navigating the menu. So really, again, as you look at the different options, if you're able to plan ahead, do that. But if you aren't able to, when you look at the menu at the restaurant, again, do they have options that are vegetables as sides, or could you substitute different things? It's always good to ask. It doesn't hurt to ask. And then two, just thinking about, asking questions too, as you're perusing the menu, what are your portions of like meats? Um, i- i- and just again, we kind of talked a little bit about portion sizes of meat. The size of the palm of your hand is about 4 ounces of meat, about the size of a deck of cards, depending on the size of your hand. But that can give you reference about how large portion sizes should be. And then two, considering a vegetarian option might be something that you that you might want to do. Um, Again, being careful because sometimes they put extra um, cheese on those. If it's not a vegan option, they might put extra cheese on those types of things. So again, asking those kinds of questions of with vegetarian options, what is all in that option in that menu item, but you can get more vegetables if it's a vegetarian option. Sometimes people don't cook fish at home because either they're not sure how to cook it, or maybe two, they don't like the smell in their house. So I often talk to people too that might be something to order to get a lean protein source in, and especially if it's something that you're don't make a lot at home. Then choosing water as a beverage, I mentioned that already. Sometimes people go to the restaurant and really haven't had water throughout the day, so they're actually so thirsty, a little dehydrated. So as you're looking at the menu, if you can sip on water, that can help you feel less thirsty, which often is interpreted as being extra hungry. So that can help you with eating less throughout the meal when your meal is served. And then also talking about those key menu terms that can indicate healthier options. And sometimes menus offer healthier designations. One example is like the American Heart Association has like kind of a heart and a check mark in it. Sometimes you might see things as being fresh or fit. Sometimes those menu items might have a little bit lower in calories. So again, if that's something that you're looking out and not wanting as many calories, those might be things to look for on the menu and could help guide you. This is a list of some key terms, and I put it in the red, yellow, and green light categories. So the green light would be things that you want to choose more often, limiting the things in the yellow box, and choose rarely the things in the red box. And those things in the red box are going to be things that have a lot of extra butter in them, maybe fried, have extra sauces and different cream in it. So again, they're just going to increase the calories of those types of foods. Um, and then other key terms that you want to try to choose more often would be kind of in this green area. So the baked, braised, grilled, poached, roast, seared, or steamed, those are going to be great options that you want to kind of order more often. Things that you want to be careful of or limit, maybe things like basted or broasted. Sometimes people don't know what that term broasted is. I'm not sure if that's more of a Midwestern term, but those are frying foods that are under pressure and that gets more of the oil in the different types of foods. Marinated, sometimes those may be just to watch out for because oftentimes they use quite a bit of oil in them. So that's why that's categorized in the yellow. But again, it's just not that you can't have it, but just not as often. Um, and sometimes people are surprised by sauteed or stir fried. And again, that's just because when we're in a restaurant, they often use extra oils in different types of things and just adding up in the amount of calories. So, and then with the choosing rarely category, that would be like au gratin. Those just have a lot of butter in them. They are topped with cheese and breadcrumbs and browned in the oven. So it just has some extra toppings and calories on them. Some of them are a little bit more obvious, like the fried, but glazed, they actually use a lot of oil and then sometimes added sugars with them. So that's why that's in that red category or choosing rarely. So these are just some key terms to keep in mind when you're looking at the menu to kind of help guide you. Then I wanted to touch on just a few of specific restaurants on what might be healthier options. So whether that's your casual dining or fast food type restaurant, oftentimes they may have like, this is more with casual dining, but like baked potatoes, which are a great option. It's more what you're putting on the baked potato. So just asking for those toppings on the side, and that way you have control over how much you're putting on it. If they have vegetables, that's a great option. Just getting them steamed or roasted. Um, Stir fried is again one in the yellow category, but two, you're having vegetables, so that's great if you can. And raw vegetables would even be a better option. But then with grilling, broiling meat, poultry, or seafood, those would be a better way to have that prepared. Pizza, again, sometimes that's the option that we have available, but could I get it with vegetable toppings, a little bit thinner crust? And then sometimes salad entrees or different types of restaurants where you can really just kind of pick and choose different things that you want on that salad, whether that's grilled chicken or seafood. And often the dressings are what's going to add extra calories. So asking for that on the side. Then with Chinese, Japanese, and Thai food restaurants, often with any type of restaurant, like a broth-based type soup is going to be much lower in calories than like a creamy soup. Steamed spring rolls or dumplings, those are great options. And again, chickens, seafood, or tofu with vegetables. Steamed rice, brown rice if it's available, that's going to be a whole grain. And then noodles, if they again have a whole grain option, grilled steamed vegetables dishes. And then edamame is soy, the soybean, but that can be a great protein source. So that could also be an option too of a non-animal protein source. With Mexican food, it's like black bean soup can be a great option, or gazpacho, salsas, pico de gallo, or salads with like jicama. Those are just great ways to get different vegetables in them. Getting tortillas that aren't fried, so like just a regular plain tortilla or a corn tortilla. Um, Burritos, tacos, enchiladas, tamales, those types of things. Sometimes burritos and the tacos, if you can ask for the toppings on the side for the tacos per se, the burritos, kind of have everything mixed in there. But you can ask them to go light on the cheese on the top and asking for like a lean meat like chicken, seafood, or even just a bean option. But red beans and rice or Spanish rice is a great side option too. And last but not least, Italian, more like the minestrone soup, has like a tomato base. It has quite a bit. It has like beans in it, a lot of vegetables. Oftentimes there's a garden salad, just asking for, again, the dressing on the side. Plain breadsticks as opposed to really coated with butter type breadsticks, if that's an option. Pasta with marinara sauce. That's going to be a better option than like your creamy Alfredo sauces. And again, asking if they have whole wheat pasta as an option. It doesn't hurt to ask. So those are just a few of the ones that I wanted to touch on some common different types of restaurants. And then when you order like a pro, really just, and I mentioned this as we went through some of the specific types of restaurants, but just those dressings and sauces can really add up in the amount of calories. You can save about 200 calories per 2 tablespoons of dressing, depending on what it is. You can also ask for olive oil and balsamic vinegar to make your own dressing if you want. And then two, just really being confident and asking, are there different things that you can ask as substitutions? Steamed vegetables with no butter added, whole grain options for bread, pasta. If you're at breakfast, do they have oatmeal as an option? Can you get fruit? Have fruit for dessert? If you want to get more calcium, like a low-fat milk or fat-free milk, is that even an option? And it's okay to, if something is prepared fried, could you, asking instead if it could be grilled. So that those are the kinds of things that you can ask. And two, if restaurants are willing to kind of change up the way things are prepared and you need to be in that area, or it's a restaurant that is near where you live, it's good to go to those restaurants frequently, because those are the ones that you want to go to and enjoy socializing with people at those restaurants because they're accommodating your requests and they're helping you keep your health in check as well. So we know that portions are incredibly large, oftentimes at restaurants. So they often have the approach of wanting to give you more for your money, but often that's not good for our health. So could we split entrees with someone? Or two, if you just know that it's going to be quite large and you can't share with somebody, could you get a to-go box where you could just portion it out right away and have it to take with you for another meal? So there's nothing wrong with doing that. The only thing that I would mention though, just with food safety, is that if you know you're not going to be able to put the food in a refrigerator within an hour and a half to 2 hours max, don't take it to go because we don't want you to get a foodborne illness with anything like that. So just want to mention that. And then if you know that bread and chips are served ahead of time, again, not to deny yourself totally of that. You can take what you want and ask the server to take the rest so you're not tempted by it. But that can be a way. And if you just don't even want to go there, you can just tell them you don't want it on the table. So that can be helpful as well. So. And then I wanted to also touch on this concept of mindful eating. I talked a little bit about drinking water while you're deciding what you want to order, because I mentioned that thirst is sometimes interpreted as being hungry. So if you can kind of quench your thirst, that can help you curb your appetite. And then oftentimes too, we just don't enjoy the company that we're with. And so when we can really have that kind of mindset when we're in a restaurant, that can really help us focus on the moment, also enjoying the meal itself, slowing down how you eat, how many times you chew, just increasing the amount of times you chew. So you really break down the foods and you taste the flavor, the texture, all of those kinds of things. And all of this really helps us slow down. And we know that it can take about 20 minutes for our stomach to send signals to our brain that we're even starting to feel full. So that can just, when we slow down, that can help us decrease the total amount of food that we're eating. Again, if you're trying to watch the amount of food that if you're trying to watch your weight and maintain a healthy weight. The other thing too that can be helpful is when you're done eating, to just put your napkin over your plate and you ask your server to remove the plate so you're not tempted to kind of snack on things or mindlessly eat things when you've just decided that you're done. So that can be a great way to just not nibble on things. Okay. So that's all on mindful eating when it comes to dining out as well. That can be helpful. The other thing that I wanted to mention too is that I have a couple other nutrition tip sessions, virtual sessions coming in November. One of the next one will be nutrition during cancer treatment, and the last one will be on healthy snacks. So just wanted you to be aware of that, and you can check out our cancer education blog on Mayo Clinic Connect to find a full schedule of when those sessions will be. The other thing too, in the Stephen and Barbara Slaggie Family Cancer Education Center, for anyone who is a Mayo Clinic cancer patient, we will be we'll be starting to have the meal planning basics class for cancer survivors, and that's going to be coming next year, hopefully earlier in the year. And just want you all to know that all of our classes are free, and also on the Cancer Education blog, you can find all of our classes that we offer. And those are both in person and virtual. And at this time, I would ask, just if anybody has any questions, you can certainly ask questions. Let's see. So I'm going to look in the chat and see if we have any questions. Let's see. So are there specific cuisines or types of restaurants that are generally healthier? So that's a good question. So I touched on a few of those different types of restaurants that have healthier options. And often I would say, Mediterranean type restaurants have a lot of options that are vegetable, cuisine. They may offer whole grain options. Sometimes they have, you could ask for whole wheat couscous. Sometimes they have bulgur or cracked wheat. So that might be a great option. Japanese cuisine, excuse me, where you can get different kinds of vegetable options like stir fries, and just really loading up on vegetables, and maybe even getting different kinds of non-animal protein sources too. Um, Salad bars that are like more health-focused cafes are great options. Vegetarian or vegan restaurants, Asian cuisine, and even I would say, I don't want to say that, um, I would say fast food restaurants often get a bad rap, but I mentioned that a lot of any restaurant that has 20 or more locations has to put their nutrition information available. And some restaurant chains I've seen where you can kind of assemble, like pick the different options that you want and have it kind of add up the total amount of calories. And, that maybe as a dietitian, I kind of think about like, what a good calorie level would be, but everyone's calorie requirements are different. But if you think about it, um, I mean, everyone has different calorie requirements. So I guess I don't want to assign you a specific calorie amount. So I would say if it's like 500 calories or less, but you could even help someone who needs to gain weight, right? If to find an option that might be a little bit more calories. So that's also another thing that you can do. So I wouldn't say that fast food restaurants, they often get a bad rap, but sometimes you can find healthier options just using some of those key menu terms, like grilled options, and just finding things like sometimes they have apples, sliced apples as a side. They have like low fat milk as an option, yogurt. So different kinds of things like that. So just want to mention that. That's a great question. Let me see if there's another question in the chat. So let's see, there's one other question. So one person was saying that they often feel like social pressure, that they want to order healthy options, but sometimes when they're with certain people, that it might be harder to find or order the way they want to find healthier options. So sometimes the people that they're with it doesn't always align with their health goals, I guess. And that can be tricky, right? And so I think with some of that planning ahead can really be helpful, to just know what you're going to choose ahead of time. Sometimes it might just be having a conversation with, if you feel comfortable, obviously talking about your health goals with the person that you're dining with. And maybe not when you're dining out, maybe ahead of time, by just saying that, it's really important to me. I love to socialize with you and I want to go out to eat, but I'm really trying to watch my weight, or these are just different kinds of things that I'm trying to focus on, or I have fitness goals. So just having that conversation, planning ahead so you know what you're going to order ahead of time, and always reminding yourself of what your goal is that you want to achieve when you're ordering. So again, not to say you can't have dessert or something like that, but maybe you share your dessert with someone, or you get water, to save on calories too. So those are just a few examples, because dining out isn't going to go away. It's a great way to not have to cook. It may be out of necessity because you have to travel to be somewhere for your cancer treatment, or when you're visiting family or things like that. So hopefully some of the tips that I've provided you today can help you eat out in a little bit of a healthier way. So hope to see you next time at some of our other nutrition tip sessions. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.